On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the moon. His famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," were heard across the globe. Over the next 3 years, 11 more astronauts walked on the lunar surface. But after Apollo 17 in 1972, our journeys to the moon came to an end. More than 50 years later, NASA is getting ready for an exciting comeback with the Artemis program. This isn't just about reliving old glories, it's about setting up a permanent human presence on the moon, preparing for future trips for Mars, and starting a new age of deep space exploration. Let's explore NASA's bold plan to send humans back to the moon and beyond. The Artemis program was named after Apollo's twin sister in Greek mythology. It all started in 2017 when the US government told NASA to lead a new moon exploration program.
It is time for America to take the next steps. Today I announce a new plan to explore space and extend a human presence across our solar system.
They wanted NASA to work with other countries and private companies to help humans explore more of our solar system. Artemis has some big goals. First, NASA wants to land the first woman and the first person of color on the moon. This will inspire a whole new generation of explorers and scientists. But that's just the beginning. NASA also plans to build a permanent base on the moon. This base will have living spaces, power systems, and even ways to use resources found on the moon. Like water ice. Having people live on the moon for long periods will teach us a lot. We'll learn how to survive on another world, which will be super important when we eventually try to go to Mars. The moon will be like a practice run for these longer, more distant space trips. Artemis isn't just about exploration, it's also about science. The moon's south pole, where NASA plans to land, has areas that are always in shadow. These dark spots might have lots of water ice. Studying this ice could tell us about the history of water in our solar system and might even be useful for future astronauts. NASA isn't just doing this alone. They're working with space agencies from Europe, Canada, and Japan. Private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are also helping build the rockets and spacecraft needed for their missions. NASA has planned a series of missions to achieve its moon exploration goals. Here's how they break it down. Artemis 1 was the first big test. In November 2022, NASA launched its new big rocket, the Space Launch System, SLS, carrying the Orion spacecraft. No people were on board, but Orion flew around the moon and returned safely to Earth. This mission proved that NASA's new rocket and spacecraft worked as they should. Artemis 2 is set for 2024. This will be the first time astronauts fly in Orion. 4 brave space explorers will go on a trip around the moon, going further into space than any humans before them. They won't land on the moon, but they'll test out all the systems to ensure everything's ready for the big moment. Artemis III is the mission everyone's waiting for, currently planned for 2025, but it might be later. It will be the first time humans will step on the moon again. 2 astronauts will land near the moon's south pole and spend about a week exploring. They'll do experiments and try out new technologies that could help us live on the moon and into the future. After Artemis III, NASA plans more missions to start building a permanent structure. They want to put a small space station called Gateway in orbit around the moon. To make these moon missions happen, NASA and its partners had to invent some pretty amazing technology. Let's look at some of the coolest gadgets and machines they're using. The Space Launch System, SLS, is NASA's most powerful rocket ever. It's taller than the Statue of Liberty and can produce more power than 160,000 Corvette engines. This massive rocket is what will push Orion out of Earth's orbit and towards the moon. The Orion spacecraft is like a high-tech camper van for space. Built by Lockheed Martin and the European Space Agency, it's designed to keep astronauts safe and comfortable on their long journey on the moon and back. It has fancy life support systems, protection from space radiation, and a super strong heat shield for when it comes back through Earth's atmosphere. NASA chose SpaceX's Starship as its lunar lander to actually land on the moon. This futuristic-looking spacecraft is huge and fully reusable. It's being designed to carry lots of people and cargo not just to the moon, but maybe to Mars someday too. The Lunar Gateway will be like a mini space station orbiting the moon. It'll be a place for astronauts to live for short periods, a lab for doing science experiments, and a parking spot for moon rovers and other space robots. NASA's ultimate goal is to build a permanent moon base called Artemis Base Camp. This will have everything astronauts need to live and work on the moon for long periods. They're even working on ways to use moon dirt and ice to make the things they need, like rocket fuel and drinking water. Last but not least, NASA is developing new spacesuits. These aren't like the clunky suits from the Apollo days. The new ones will be more flexible and comfortable, allowing astronauts to move around and work more easily on the moon's surface. While Artemis is super exciting, it's not without its challenges. Here are some of the big hurdles NASA is facing. Money is always an issue when it comes to space exploration. Artemis is expected to cost about $93 billion through 2025, and some people think that's too much. There's also concerns about NASA and whether it can stick to its timeline. The plan to land on the moon by 2025 is looking a bit shaky, and it might end up being 2026 or even later. Building all this new technology isn't easy. There have been delays and setbacks, which is pretty normal for big space projects like this, but it does mean that schedules sometimes have to change. Politics can also affect programs like Artemis. Different presidents might have different ideas about space exploration, which could also change Artemis funding or goals. So far, the program has support from both major political parties in the US. There was also some drama that NASA picked SpaceX to build a lunar lander. Other companies like Blue Origin weren't happy about this and even took NASA to court over it. Artemis is happening at a time when other countries are also getting interested in the moon. China in particular has big plans for lunar exploration. This has led to discussions about whether there might be competition or even conflicts in space in the future. Lastly, as we plan to spend more time on the moon, some people are worried about how this might affect the lunar environment. We'll need to figure out how to explore and use the moon's resources without causing too much damage. Despite all these challenges, NASA and its partners are still committed to making Artemis happen. They believe that the scientific discoveries, new technologies, and inspiration that will come from these missions are all worth the effort and money. The Artemis program is about much more than just going back to the moon. It's about pushing the boundaries of what humans can do in space. By learning to live and work on the moon, we'll be preparing ourselves for even bigger adventures, like sending people to Mars. Artemis could inspire a whole new generation of scientists and engineers. Kids watching these missions today might grow up to be the astronauts who first set foot on Mars. The technologies developed for Artemis could also lead to new inventions that make life better here on Earth, just like the Apollo program did. As we watch Artemis unfold over the next few years, we're seeing history being made. There will probably be more challenges and maybe some setbacks along the way. But if Artemis succeeds, it will change how we think about space travel. The moon, which has fascinated humans for thousands of years, could become a place where people actually live and work. Whether Artemis meets all of its goals on time or faces some delays, one thing is certain: we're at the beginning of an exciting new chapter in space exploration. The silent, unchanging moon that we see in our night sky might soon become a second home for humanity, a stepping stone as we reach out to explore the rest of our solar system and beyond. So next time you look up to the moon, remember that soon, humans might be up there looking back at us. And who knows, maybe someday, you'll be able to book a vacation to a lunar resort and see Earth rise over the moon's horizon with your own eyes. The future of space exploration is bright, and with Artemis, it's closer than ever before. If you're excited about the future of space exploration as we are, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. That way you'll be the first to know about our upcoming videos on cutting-edge space missions and technology. Until next time, stay tuned.